Hey everyone, my name is Joshua Mercado and I'm going to discuss Module 7, Ethics in Law and E-Commerce. Learning objectives. Number 1, understand why e-commerce raises ethical, social, and political issues. Number 2, understand basic concepts related to privacy and information rights, the practices of e-commerce companies that threaten privacy, and the different methods that can be used to protect online privacy. Number 3, understand the various forms of intellectual property of the challenges involved in protecting it. Number 4, understand how the internet and governed and why the taxation of e-commerce raises governance in jurisdiction issues. Number 5, identify major public safety and welfare issues raised by e-commerce. What is privacy? Privacy is the ability of an individual or group to seclude themselves or information about themselves, and thereby they express themselves selectively. The domain of privacy partially overlaps with secure, which can include the concepts of appropriate use and protection of information. Can consumer have say what information collect on them? Know what personal data about them is being collected. Know if their personal data is being sold and to whom. Say no to the sale of personal information. How can consumer protect itself from privacy invasion? Always secure if the website or application is masaligan sabla kung ano ang mga feedback ng tawon man tis mo open. Understanding ethical, social, and political issues in e-commerce. Internet, like other technologies, can enable new crimes, affect environment, and threaten social values. Cost and benefit must be careful considered, especially when there are no clear-cut or cultural guidelines. Understanding ethical, social, and political issues in e-commerce. E-commerce technology dimension. Ubiquity. Internet web technology is available everywhere at work, at home, and elsewhere via mobile devices anytime. Work and shopping can invade family life. Shopping can distract workers at lowering productivity. Use of mobile devices can lead to automobile and industrial accident presents confusing issues of nexus to taxation authorities. Number 2 is global reach. The technology reaches across national boundaries around the earth. Reduce cultural diversity in product weakens local small firms while strengthening large global firms. Moves manufacturing production to low wage areas of the world. Weakens the ability of all nations, large and small, to control their information destiny. Universal standards. There is one set of technology standard, namely Internet standard. Increased vulnerability to viruses and hacking attacks worldwide, affecting millions of people, and once increase the likelihood of information crime against system and deception. Richness. Video, audio, and text message are possible. A screen technology that reduces use of text and potentially the ability to read by focusing instead on video and audio messages. Potentially very persuasive message that may reduce reliance on multiple independent sources of information. Interactivity. The technology works throughout interaction with their user. The nature of interactivity at commercial sites can shallow and meaningless customer emails and frequently not be human beings. Customers do not really co-produce the product as much they co-produce the sale. The amount of customization of products that occurs in minimal occurring with predefined platforms and plug information options. Information destiny. While the total amount of the information available to all parties increase, so does possibility of false and misleading information, unwanted information, and invention of solitude. Trust. Authentic- Trust, authenticity, accuracy, completeness, and other quantity of futures information can be degraded. The ability of the individuals and organizations to make sense out of the plethora of information limited. Personalization and customization. The technology allows personalized messages to be delivered to individuals as well as groups. Opens up the possibility of intensive invasions of privacy for commercial and government purpose that is unpredicted. Social technology. The technology enables users, content generation, and social networking, creates opportunities for cyberbullying, abusive language, and predation challenges concepts of privacy, fair use, and consent to use posted information, creates new opportunities for surveillance by authorities and corporations into private lives. A model for organizing the issues. Issues raised by internet and e-commerce can be viewed at individual, social, and political levels. Four major categories of issues. Number one is information rights. Number two, property rights. Number three, governance. And lastly, public safety and welfare. Moral dimensions of internet society. In the upper left side is information rights. The upper right side is property rights. And the lower left side is public safety and welfare, and the lower right side is governance. In outer circle is the political issues. The second circle is social issues. Number three are no clear cut or cultural guidelines. And in the center is the internet and e-commerce. Basic ethical concept. Ethics, a study of principle used to determine right and wrong courses of action. Responsibility, accountability, liability, laws permitting individuals to cover damages. Due process law are known, understood, and ability to appeal to higher authorities to ensure laws applied correctly. Analyzing ethical dilemmas. Dilemma is a situation in which there are at least two diametrically opposed actions, each of which supports a desirable outcome. Process for analyzing ethical dilemmas. Number one, identify and clearly describe the facts. Number two, define the conflict or dilemma and identify the higher order values involved. Number three, identify the stakeholders. Number four, identify the option that you can reasonably take. And lastly, number five, identify the potential consequences of your options.
So I will be discussing candidate ethical principles. So the first one is golden rule. This states that do unto others as you would want them do unto you. The next one is universalism. It is also Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative, which states that if an action is not right for everyone, for everyone to take, it is not right for anyone else. Next is slippery slope. So if an action cannot be taken repeatedly, it is not right to take it at all. This is also Descartes' rule of change. So the slippery slope rule is an action that may bring about a small a small change now that is acceptable, but if it is repeated, it would bring unacceptable changes in the long run. So in the vernacular, it might be stated as, once you started down a slippery slope, you may not be able to stop. Next is risk aversion. So this states that take the action that produces the least harm or the least potential cost. Next is no free lunch. So let's assume virtually that all tangible and intangible objects are owned by someone else, unless there is a specific declaration otherwise. So let's put it in a simple terms, wherein example, I created something that is useful for you to use, but in the end, I am expecting something in return as well that is also useful. To make it more simpler, I'm expecting compensation in return. The next one is the New York Times test. So this test basically they tell CEOs or managers they tell CEOs and managers to question themselves on how they would feel if the actions that they are about to take in their organizations, whether it is decisions or something about communication, they would ask themselves how would their employees feel if they did that decision or they chose that decision. Next and last one is the social contract rule. So this states that the people who live together in a society in accordance with an agreement that establishes moral and political rules of behavior. Some people might believe that we live according to a social contract and we can live morally by our own choice and not because of some divine that requires us to live morally. Next slide. So the next slide is privacy and information rights. So privacy is the moral right of individuals to be left alone, free from surveillance or interference from other individuals or organizations. So privacy is what keeps us safe from harmful or it keeps us safe from harmful beings mostly. It protects us from opposing threats that might come at us, whether it is physically or cyber. Information privacy. So it is the right to be forgotten, either claim of individual to edit and to delete. So its claims are certain information should not be collected at all. Individuals should control the use of whatever information is collected about them. No one information is collected. Right to personal information, due process. Personal information must be stored in a secured manner. So behavioral tracking on the internet, social sites, and mobile devices. So FTCs or Fair Information Practices Principles. So here are some examples. Notice or awareness, which is a core principle. It states that sites must disclose their information practices before collecting data, includes identification of collector uses of data, other recipients of data, nature of collection, active or inactive, voluntary or required, consequences of refusal, and steps taken to protect confidentiality, integrity, and quality of the data. So users must be aware, should be aware or notified before they disclose any information among websites or apps that they are using. Next is choices and consent. So this is also one of the core principles. There must be a process in place allowing consumers to choose how their information will be used for secondary purposes other than supporting the transaction, including internal use and transfers of third party, opt in or opt out, it must be available. So this is also important because let's take the example of fake messages nowadays. There's a lot of scammers out there that send messages asking for money, telling you that you won prizes out of nowhere. Before when clicking these messages, they tend to have no consent, no consent pages present. Example is when you type in your account details, there are times that an OTP will be sent to you saying that you are consenting this website to use your personal data, etc., etc. So choices and consent must also be respected and used by every data gathering sites or applications in order to protect our privacy and our lives. Next is access or participation. So consumers should be able to review the context and accuracy and completeness of data collected about them in a timely and inexpensive process. Next is security. Data collectors must take reasonable steps to assure that consumers' information is accurate and secure from unauthorized use. So, as I said before, security is also important because this is what keeps our privacy and information safe from harmful and dangerous sites. Enforcement. So there must be a mechanism to enforce FIP principles in place. So this can involve self-regulation, legislation, giving consumers legal remedies for violations, or federal statutes, and regulations. So the continuation of privacy and information rights is major ethical issue related to e-commerce and privacy. So under what conditions should we invade the privacy of others? Major social issue, development of expectations of privacy and privacy norms. Major political issue, development of statutes that govern relations between record keepers and individuals. So information collected at e-commerce sites. So data collected includes personally identifiable information or PII and anonymous information. The types of data that are collected are the name, the address, phone, email, social security, bank and credit accounts, gender, age, occupation, education, preference data, transaction data, clickstream data, and browser type. So some sites collect all these data in order for them to input in their system and easily know what you would prefer when browsing their sites or using their applications. So personal information collected by e-commerce sites. So here are some of the examples. As I stated before, the name, the address, the phone number, email address, social security number, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, gender, age, occupation, location history, likes, photograph, education, preference data, transaction data, clickstream data, device used for access, and the browser type. So here are Internet's major information gathering tools and their impact on privacy. So here I will be discussing the internet capability and its impact on privacy. So first off are our smartphones and apps. So its impact on privacy, it is used to track location and share photos, addresses, phone numbers, search, and other behavior to marketers. Next is the advertising networks, which is used to track individuals as they move among thousands of websites. Next is social networks, used to gather information on users' provided content such as books, music, friends, and other interests, preferences, and lifestyle. First-party cookies, we usually see these when we access sites. You can't access everything in a website if you don't allow cookies to invade your your browser. So first-party cookies are used to track individuals at a single site, store users' activity while on the website, and enable login, shopping carts, understanding users' behavior, and navigation features. Third-party cookies, these are beacons, are HTML5 storage cookies. So these were placed by advertising networks and data collection firms with the permission of the website being visited. So it is used to track online behavior, searches, and sites visited across thousands of sites for the purpose of displaying relevant advertising. So HTML5 storage cookies are placed in HTML5 storage or device storage, which has a much larger capacity than cookie files. It is mostly 0.5 MB versus 4K. Next type of cookie is the persistent cookies. So they remain active after a browsing session and stay active for a set period of time. It is useful in retargeting ads and cross-site tracking. Next is the device fingerprinting. So programs based on third-party servers that uniquely identify a device based on the operating system, local network, browser, graphics chip, graphics driver, installed fonts, and other features. Next is the search engine behavioral targeting. So it uses prior search history, demographics, expressed interest, geographic or other user-entered data to target audiences. Next is the deep packet inspection. So this uses software installed at the ISP level to track all users' click-through behavior. Next is shopping carts. They are used to collect a detailed payment and purchase information. You can also see shopping carts at shopping platforms such as Shopee and Lazada. So next is forms, online forms that users voluntarily fill out in return for a promised benefit or reward that are linked with clickstream or other behavioral data to create a personal profile. Example of this would be websites, clothing websites such as um, Forever 21 or H&M, wherein uh, when you first enter the website, a pop-up of form comes up saying that if you create an account in their website, you would get 50% off, or if you refer a friend, purchase something on the website, they would offer you points or another type of discount every friend referred. The next is site transaction logs. So it is used to collect and analyze detailed information on page content that is viewed by users. Next is search engines, which is used to trace users' statements and views on news groups, chat groups, and other public forums on the web. So the profile users, social and political views, which Google returns name, address, and links to a map with directions to the address when a phone number is entered. Next is the IP address. This is a unique number that is assigned to every device on the internet, revealed by users when they use the internet, used to identify the ISP provider, region, local area network IP, and potentially the individual device. With a few other pieces of information, individuals are easily identified. It is used by law enforcement, telecommunications companies, and ad firms to trace communications and user behavior across the internet. Lastly is the cross-device tracking. So this integrates the login information on smartphones with browser tracking from websites to create an integrated file on specific users shared with ad network firms. Next is internet users' efforts to preserve privacy. So as we can see here, the action and the percentage who have done this. So this is uh, internet users' ratings. For my last report, profiling and behavioral targeting. So profiling is the creation of digital images that characterizes online individual and group behavior. This is anonymous profiles or personal profiles. Next is the advertising networks, which track consumer and browsing behavior on web. It is dynamically adjusted to what user sees on the screen and builds and refresh profiles of consumers. The other profiling behavioral targeting is Google's AdWords program. So AdWords is an advertising system that Google developed in order to help businesses reach online target markets, however, through its search engine platform and partner sites. So these partner sites host a text or image ad that appears on the page uh, after a user searches for a keyword or phrase that relates to a business and its products and services. Um, Google AdWords program was actually rebranded to Google Ads DoubleClick since, as a part of a campaign, it uh, simplifies Google's paid advertising programs.
I will discuss the profiling and behavioral targeting. First is the facial recognition. Is a category of biometric software that maps an individual facial features mathematically and stores the data as a face print. The software uses deep learning to compare a live capture or digital image to the stored face print in order to verify an individuality identify. Second is the business perspective. Increased effectiveness of advertising, subsidizing free content, enable sensing of demand for new product and services. Critics' perspective uh, undermines undermines the expectation of anonymity and privacy. Consumers show significant opposition to unregulate the collection of personal information. Social networks and privacy. Social networks encourage sharing personal details, pose unique challenge to maintaining privacy. Facebook facial recognition technology and tagging. Personal control over personal information versus organization desire to monetize social network. Mobile and location-based privacy issues. Smartphones apps funnel personal information to mobile advertisers for targeting ads. Track and store user location. Users say the privacy a concern. Mobile Device Privacy Act not yet passed requires informing consumers about collection. Private industry self-regulation, safe harbor programs, a private policy mechanism to meet objectives of government regulation without government involvement. Privacy seal programs or the TRUST-E. Industry association include the Online Privacy Alliance or the OPA, Network Advertising Initiative or the NAI. These are the clear ad notice technical specification. These are the technology solution. The technology is the intelligent tracking prevention, the ITP. Products are the Apple Safari Privacy Badger. The protections are the monitors and disables tracking cookies. Differential privacy software. The products are the Apple. protections is reduce the ability to merge different files and demo consumers' data. Privacy, default browser, message encryption, signals data whisper the Telegram series, apps that encrypt the text and the other data transfer using the smartphones. Technology, the spy blockers, products is spyware doctor, zone alarm, ad aware, and spybot. Detects and removes spyware, adware, key loggers, and other malware. The technologies are the pop-up and the ad blockers. The products is the most browser add-on programs, AdBlock Plus, and the pop-up master. The protections are to prevent calls to a server, restricted downloading of image at a user request. Technology, secure email, ZL technology, safe mesh, Hashmal, pretty good privacy. These are the products. The protection is to email and document the encryption. Next is the anonymous remailers. The products are the Jackbee, Java Anonymous, Proxy is, and the Mixmaster. The protection is to send the email without trace. Next is the anonymous surfing. The products is the Freedom Web Secure, Anonymizer, Comtorg, or the Go Surf. The protection is surf without a trace using VPN networks. Next is the Cookies Manager. The products are the Cookie Monster and the Moz browser. The protections is blocks the third-party cookies. Next is the public key encryption. Products is the PGP desktop. The protection is the program that encrypt your email and the documents. Privacy advocacy groups. Electronic Privacy Information Center, or the EPIC. The focus is the Washington, D.C. based Public Interest Research Center, focus on privacy and civil liberties issues. Second is the Privacy International watchdog organization, focus on privacy by government and businesses. Next is the Center for Democracy and Technology. The focus is the foundation business supported group with a legislative focus. Next is the Electronic Frontier Foundation. The focus is the non-profit organization focused on defending user privacy, free expression, and other civil liberties. The last is the Privacy Right Clearinghouse. The focus is the Educational Clearinghouse. Intellectual property rights. First is the intellectual property na all tangible and intangible products of human mind. Major ethical issues. How should we treat property that belongs to others? Major social issues is their continued value in protecting intellectual property in the internet age. Major political issue. How can internet and e-commerce be regulated or governed to protect intellectual property? Intellectual property protections. These are the three main types of protection: the copyright, patent, trademark law. Goal of intellectual property law is to balance two competing interests, public and private. Maintaining this balance of interest is always challenged by the invention of new technology. The copyright protects original forms of expression such as writing, art, drawing, photographs, music, motion pictures, performances, and computer programs from being copied by other minimum of 70 years. Look and feel. copyright by infringement lawsuit, fair use doctrine, Digital Millennium Copyright Act 1998. First major effort to adjust copyright laws to the internet age is to implement the WIPO treaty that makes it illegal to make, distribute, or use the devices that technology based on protection to copyright the materials and the safe harbor provision.
My name is Evergene Gray and this is my topic. Fair use consideration. Fair use factor interpretation. Character of use, non-profit or educational use versus for-profit use. Nature of the work. Creative work such as plays or novels receive greater protection than factual accounts and newspaper accounts. Amount of work used. A stanza from a poem or a single page from a book would be allowed, but not the entire poem or a book chapter. Market effect or of use. Will the use harm the marketability of the original product? Has it already harmed the product in the marketplace? Context of use. A last-minute unplanned use in a classroom versus a planned infringement. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Section. The Title 1 WIPO Copyright and Performance and Phonograms Treaties Implementation. Importance. Make it illegal to circumvent technological measure to protect works for either access or copying or to circumvent any electronic rights management information. Title number 2 Online Copyright Infringement Liability Limitation. Limits liability of ISPs and search engines for copyright infringement if they comply with safe harbor. Requires ISPs to take down sites they host if they are infringing copyrights, and requires search engines to block access to infringing sites if they receive proper notice of infringement from the copyright owner. Title number 3 Computer Maintenance Competition Assurance. Permits users to make a copy of computer program for maintenance or repair of the computer. Title number 4 Miscellaneous Provisions. Requires the Copyright Office to report to Congress on the use of copyright materials for distance education. Allows libraries to make digital copies of work for internal use only. Extend musical copyrights to include webcasting. Patents. Grant owner 20-year monopoly on ideas behind an invention. Machine man-made products, composition of matter, processing methods. Invention must be new, non-obvious, novel. Encourage inventors, promote disseminations of new techniques through licensing. Stifles competition by raising barriers to entry. Selected e-commerce patents company. Subject update. Amazon, one-click purchasing. Priceline, buyer-driven the same. Buyer-driven named your price sales. Akamal, internet content delivery global hosting system. Double click dynamic delivery of online advertising. Overture pay for performance search. Acacia Technologies streaming video media transmission. Sovereign software purchase technology. Mark exchange auction technology. Google search technology. Google location technology. Apple social technology. Facebook social technology. Marks identify distinguish goods and indicate their source, purpose, ensure consumer get what is paid for expected to receive, protect owner against piracy and misappropriation, infringement, market confusion, bad faith, delusion, behavior that weakens connection between trademark and product. Excuse me. Trademark and the internet, cyber squatting and brandjacking, cyber squatting, Consumer Protection Act, cyber piracy, typo squatting, meta tagging, keywording, linking and deep linking, framing, basic internet, and trademark law examples. Cyber squatting, registering domain names similar or identical to trademarks of others to extort profits from legitimate holders. Cyber piracy, registering domain names similar or identical to trademarks of others to divert web traffic to their own sites. Meta tagging, using trademark words in a site's meta tags. Keywording, placing trademark keywords on web page, either visible or invisible. Linking to content page on other sites bypassing the home page. Framing, placing the content of other sites in a frame or the infringer site. Governance, primary question: who will control internet and e-commerce? What elements will be controlled and how will the control be implemented? Mixed mode environment, self-regulation through variety of internet policy and technical bodies coexist with limited government regulation. That's all. Thank you.
So who governs the internet and e-commerce? So the Department of Information and Communications Technology, abbreviated as DICT, in Filipino, Kagawaran ng Teknolohiyang Pang-impormasyon at Komunikasyon. It is the executive department of the Philippine government responsible for the planning, development, and promotion of the country's information and communications technology, or ICT agenda in support of national development. So the following agencies are attached to the DICT for purposes of policy and program coordination. First one is the National Telecommunication Commission, or NTC, the National Privacy Commission, and the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordination Center, or the CICC. Next is taxation. So taxes are crucial because government collects the money and uses it to finance social projects. Without taxes, our government's contribution to the health sector would be impossible. Taxes go to funding health services such as social health care, medical research, and social security, etc. So taxation is a non-local nature of internet commerce which complicates governance and jurisdiction issues. It is sales tax, further complications such as merging of online and offline commerce, and taxation of services. Net neutrality. So net neutrality is the concept of an open, equal internet for everyone, regardless of device, application, or platform that is used in the content consumed. So proponents of the idea believe all corporations, including internet service providers or ISPs, should treat internet data and users equally. So neutrality, all internet activities charge the same rate regardless of bandwidth use. It's differentiated pricing strategies, which is cap pricing or tiered plans, and under cap pricing is speed tiers. So the usage metering is congestion pricing, which is highway or toll pricing, and Comcast slows users for certain traffic. Lastly, FCC's 2010 compromise net neutrality rules. So the principle that says internet service providers or ISPs should treat all internet traffic equally. The FCC votes in favor of strong net neutrality, neutrality rules to keep internet open and free for everyone. Next is antitrust, monopoly, and market competitions in the internet era. So, what is antitrust? Antitrust laws proscribe unlawful mergers and business practices in general terms, leaving courts to decide which ones are illegal based on the facts of each other's cases. So, courts have applied the antitrust laws to changing markets from time to time. From a time of horse and buggies to a present digital age. So unlawful mergers and business practices in general terms, leaving courts decide which ones are illegal based on facts of each cases. So yeah, as I said, that courts have applied antitrust laws to changing markets from a time of horse and buggies to present digital age, which is price fixing. Next is monopoly. So monopoly is a market structure that is categorized by a single seller selling a unique product in the market. In a monopoly market, the seller faces no competition as he is the sole seller of goods with no close substitute. Public safety and welfare. This is actually important for every country because everyone deserves to feel safe and protected while living in a certain country. So for public safety and welfare, protecting children, cigarettes, gambling, and drugs, which for me should actually be banned. But that's where some people grow their businesses. So we can't stop or ban these types of products in the Philippines. So that's all for my report.